This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we have a great Power Pundit panel. As always, Mindy Elliott is here, Senior Vice President, Data Clone Labs Incorporated. Mike Bosma, Managing Shareholder of the Bosma Group, and Sean McGinnis with the law firm of Lewis and Roca. All right, Mindy, the hearings are going on in Congress over Wall Street. What is this all about? Is it just theatrics? Is something going to come out of this? What do you think?
Well, after yesterday, the Senate, of course, the Republicans blocked the passing of the bill, and there is some amendments that there's one particular amendment that the Republicans are hoping to add, and I think it's theatrics personally. I do. I think there's some the financial services industry has come forward, and they agree that there needs to be some changes made, and they've made their recommendation, but for some reason Congress isn't listening to them, which is so unusual. So there needs to be obviously some certainly some middle ground needs to be met, but frankly the timing is a little unusual. I thought it was a little odd when I saw Goldman Sachs certainly getting the announcement on Sachs, and then all of a sudden we have financial reform. So I don't know.
You know, most of the people in the banking industry and on Wall Street didn't understand these complicated financial derivatives, etc. How is Congress going to be able to look at this when people in their own industry don't understand it?
Well, but Congress isn't going to be able to look at it, and that's really, I think, the problem. And a lot of the pundits are saying, listen, you know, assign this to some committees, give it to some experts to really come up with a solution. Don't try and fix this through legislation at this juncture. Find out what the problem is, and then come up with some recommendations to fix it. The Goldman litigation is just really unfortunate. That should never come as a surprise to a company like that. You know, it should be something that was either settled beforehand, made an announcement, or listen, we can't agree, we're going to move forward. I think that's just kind of ill will that's created between, frankly, the White House and the private sector, and that really has to change because right now it's very adversarial.
You know, it's interesting. Senator Ben Nelson of Nebraska, where Berkshire Hathaway is located, is now voting with the Republicans.
Right.
Does that surprise you, concern you?
Well, it's almost like a rerun of the healthcare debate. I mean, you know, Nelson was with the Republicans for a long time in the healthcare debate, and what is most surprising to me in this, in what's happening with the Wall Street reform, is that we all knew the healthcare debate was coming. I mean, there was a lot of ground. It was like, this is where we're going, this is what's happening, and people were getting lined up on both sides. And here, this just kind of just dropped right in, you know, very quickly. But basically, you still have the same divide.
Well, you know, it's interesting because really the financial world is based on people gambling, correct?
Correct.
And so now we're trying to regulate to take out the gambling, or is it just to get transparency so that people know if a company is actually playing both sides of the fence?
What is transparency, Sam? I think that's. I mean, I'm trying to understand that, but
Well, if I'm selling you something, and at the same time I'm also putting together a package to bet against the sale I'm making to you, shouldn't I be telling you both sides of this equation?
Well, I think, frankly, you could go back into politics and look at transparency and everything. NRS 288, that's all about transparency. We can't seem to have a discussion about that. And I know I digress, but I think that
But you do it so well.
Which I do it so well. But the financial services industry, frankly, I was in it for 30 years, and frankly, I think, and I do believe that we were transparent. I think that reams of paper were printed whenever somebody made a loan, and everyone had the opportunity to read them. But read your loan package, understand the terms and conditions. People weren't reading them. They weren't reading them.
So you know what, but isn't this for the public's benefit? The public is angry that the banks got the bailouts, the banks pay back the money, and suddenly they're making the largest profits in their history.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at it, I guess in 2020 hindsight, it really shouldn't be a surprise that here we have Wall Street reform coming down the pike. You know, we have an election year coming up, midterm elections, and this could be something that could really resonate with people because people are frustrated and angry, specifically about the housing markets and everything. And you do look at the consumer reports. So you get the credit card bills. You see that. I mean, that again is some reform that was done, you know, with this administration that I think people look at and say, oh, there is a way out of this. I can actually make some plans, and you know, things aren't necessarily all good or bad on either side, but you know, there's some. I think it could resonate. I think some of this Wall Street reform could resonate with the electorate in November.
Politics rearing its ugly head. You think?
You think.
That's where we got to leave it. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout. You can watch the debates from last Friday for the U.S. Senate and for the gubernatorial race by going to NevadaNewsMakers.com. On our next broadcast, Mike Montandon, Republican candidate for governor, right here. We'll see you on the next broadcast.